Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Evil Within Akumu mode difficulty. No upgrades, no keys walkthrough. This is chapter 12, it's called The Ride, and this is Heresy, the giant spider thing. So, this is an interesting encounter because the checkpoint is literally from the cutscene I trimmed out at the beginning of this level up to where we got to play just then. So you have to watch it every time you die, and this guy can kill you with residual jizz from his leaky belly. But my strategy is simple. Shoot him in the face with a shotgun at the beginning, it'll stun him, put a magnum round in him, and then he'll spawn the creatures. You can either shoot those with the shotgun or the pistol, depending on what you want to use, or you can throw a grenade. I found the grenade was more reliable because I don't have upgrades, but if you're playing with upgrades, maybe another weapon will be more intelligent to use and you can save that for a different, encounter. Right now, you want to use this as an opportunity to fill your weapons. This level gives you a ton of ammo, and it's one of the best levels for giving you the tools to do the situations. I literally cannot have any complaints about how this game works on these sequences, because it works really well. However, Chapter 11 could have done with a healthy dose of that, and for whatever reasons, the Tango just decided not to give it you. But this is your second checkpoint. This one is probably more difficult just because of the random nature of it. So this is a gauntlet of enemies. They're going to start by coming on the ridge just in front of you. There's going to be a combination of people with rifles, people who drop down, and people with Molotov cocktails. Your team will help you shoot here, but of course, the AI can't do everything, and at times they can't do anything because they can be incompetent. The problem with this sequence is anybody with a Molotov can potentially kill you, because their aim is too good and the splash is too powerful. A lot of this is down to luck, but it can be done, and it's actually kind of fun, as nerve-wracking as it can be. However, at one point, they're going to come from the left of you, so my strategy is to actually stand under the roof awning of the bus that's left, which is over on the left-hand side. This represents two problems. The first one is you will clip on your team members, so if anything happens where you need to get out of there, it's difficult to do so because of their fat asses. And it's one of those things which is, it's the nature of that kind of position. If you want to hide there, you have to, just go with it. The second thing is the most bizarre part of the Evil Within. For some reason, if something around you happens that has some kind of impact, even if you can't see it, if you can't hear it, or if you don't know what it is, Sebastian will flinch. And during his flinch, he has mad recovery where the player cannot do anything. And it's one of the worst things a game can do, I believe. Any time of your game when the controller for the player does nothing, there will be problems. Guaranteed. So, game design for me, on a fundamental level, is a balance of always making sure the player feels like he's in control of his actions, and always feeling like his actions have value. That is how games, ideally should function. They don't always, and sometimes they're better for it, but for the most it's fine. And every time this flinch happens, it's annoying. And it gets you killed, and it gets you killed because you can't do anything. And right there, I am stood in fire, and I'm somehow alive, and I'm just going with it because that's what this sequence is all about. It's about managing the crowd, it's about luck, and it's about trying not to blow all your ammo, even though you're going to get a lot of it back. So, of all the places to use ammo, this is a pretty good place to do so. Oh my goodness, see this? If he had been any kind of zombie that was punching, I was dead then, but because he had to light his dynamite, I was okay. And that worked perfectly. But the people above me have rifles, so at any point just then, if they'd have wanted to, I could have been shot dead. So now you understand the notion of RNG, the notion of luck, and the notion of you've just got to keep doing this until you win. And I know that is such a wide-sweeping statement, and it applies to every single activity the human condition can apply itself to, but never has it been more true. And some people will have no issue here, others will have plenty, and all you're waiting for is a dude to turn up now so that Joseph can shoot him. You see him over there with the dynamite? And if I had designed this game, folks, I would allow at the very beginning of that fight for you to shoot that vehicle, blow it up, and completely skip this sequence. because on your first playthrough, how would you know to do it? You wouldn't do it. You'd enjoy the mad, crazy scram of it, and then for the speedrunners and for the people who want to play the game on a higher level, they could have that super awesome strategy that saves all that ammo, all that fuss, and all that time. And it wouldn't lessen the game in any way, because the people who want to do that shootout can do it. They can ignore it. But the people who don't, boom, there's a strategy. And that would be cool as hell. It'd be an entire sequence skip. And it would have been designed, and I don't know, you know. Maybe it's just me. I'm always looking for interesting things, and as much as that firefight is fun, it lasts entirely too long, and sometimes it can suck because your AI get in the way. You do that stupid flinch I mentioned, which, did you notice you never saw it? That's a good thing. On some of my other runs where I didn't do so well, I saw it far too frequently. But this move right here, he does 3 stomps with his claw, and he will stomp where you are. So you want to lure him into stomping around the middle area and then move out of its range and then shoot him. The biggest problem with this attack is that he affects the camera when he does it. So you're going to have to get used to the game holding your camera. And the camera doesn't move as quick as it needs to at the best of times, so it's kind of frustrating. But some people might wonder why I use grenades on that moment. The amount of time those little bugs killed me when I was trying to shoot them with the pistol and the shotgun is kind of obnoxious. Right now, the reason I'm so close to him then is because he does this move where he drags his claws down the middle of the carriageway, and there seems to be no way to guard against it or get away from it. So I risked death just then to try and get away from it. He didn't do that move, he did something else, and I somehow did not get jizzed on by his belly acid, so he's not too bad of a boss. It's just one of those things where you have to get comfortable with his moves, and the only way to get comfortable with his moves is to die 20 odd times against them. And you'll understand then if he's going to do the high one, if he's going to do the horizontal sweeps that you can duck under, or if he's going to do that middle one, which, you know, to be fair, I just do not know how to get out of it. I've tried running towards him and it always seems to get me. I've tried running away from him and it still gets me. And goodness me, this is an interesting change in colour, isn't it? It's almost like they didn't white balance this part of the game, but we're finally back in control, and I really like this section. And I can also confirm, if you're crazy enough and you're good enough, you can speedrun this entire sequence, get to the checkpoint in the ambulance, and you don't have to waste a single bullet. However, doing it on Akumu mode might take a couple of the flashbolts or just a very comfortable understanding of the game and the enemies in this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide and conquer. I'm going to use the barrels as best as I can. You'll notice I used a grenade at the beginning to try and get some multi-kills. I'm not too sure how much I've shared or expressed my feelings on how the grenades really underperform in this game. And I find it really funny that the grenades in Resident Evil 4, which is the only real frame of reference, because I can't remember using grenades in other Resident Evils before then. I honestly can't. Aside from obviously grenade launchers. So the grenades in Resident Evil always seem to do their job. The grenades in this always seem to underperform. It's a little bit sad. And the rocket launcher. If anybody's used the rocket launcher, please tell me if you like it, because I don't. Not only is it weak, and much weaker than you think it should be, considering the legacy of rocket launchers in this kind of game, but it does this thing where when you equip it, he crouches and you can't move. And it's the most bizarre thing ever, because every other gun you're used to having mobility and being able to do things with it, but that, every single time, crouch, can't move, and you have to wait for him to reload to move unless you swap weapons and cancel it, and it's just really jarring. So I find myself not even using it, and when I did use it, I just find myself thinking, that should have probably killed more people than it did. You know, it's really bad considering, you know, it's a rocket launcher. And Resident Evil 5's rocket launcher was amazing. Resident Evil 4 rocket launcher, amazing. Resident Evil 6, did it have a rocket launcher? Who fucking knows? They were too busy just gasping at how bad the game was. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me as somebody who appreciates a good rocket launcher. But there's a lot of traps around here, including bear traps that weren't here before, I don't think. And you need to be aware as well, on top of the ambulance at the bottom of this road, there will be a sniper, and because he has a helmet on and we do not have the armor-piercing sniper rifle, we cannot shoot through his mask. I do not know if an upgraded sniper rifle will hit through his mask, but I get the feeling that it won't. And right there we see them lining up by the barrel. I missed my shot because you know, gravity, and we wait to see if anybody else runs towards us, and we be careful of bear traps. So the last sequence in this level is a turret section. And I, like everybody else, at that point was kind of thinking, this game has been really good up to Chapter 11 with the whole not being too actiony and being tense and interesting, and then these two chapters get super Michael Bay crazy and action-packed. And it definitely lessens the game from a survival horror perspective, but in a post-Resident Evil 4 world, name a single surviving... It's not even a word. Well, it is a word, it's just not what we need. Name one survival horror title that doesn't have this proclivity towards action set pieces. Especially towards the end of the game. Like, it just can't be done. Even Dead Space, which I think Dead Space did survival horror better than Resident Evil, and I know that's possibly quite a controversial opinion, but I think that Dead Space 1 is probably the best survival horror game ever made. The revolution of moving while aiming and still maintaining a terrifying game was something that blew my mind, and it's something that will always stay with me, even though I think Dead Space 2 is a better game. Dead Space 3 shouldn't exist, and I have no idea just how much a publisher can poison a development team, because there's no way in hell Visceral would have made that game the way it was if it was not for people telling them how to work, because they're too good. You do not make Dead Space 1 and 2 back to back and then make the game that was Dead Space 3. And as much as I think the mechanics in Dead Space 3 worked fine and were interesting, I thought everything else was appalling. I really did. And as soon as you hit chapter, is it 17 on that game, you might as well just take a shit in your hand and wipe it in your eyes, because that's pretty much what you're getting. And that's before you even bring up microtransactions, forced co-op bullshit, you know, horrendous plot that could have been really interesting because it was building towards something really, really good, and then it just turned into nothing, like nappy talk. Just watch my Dead Space 3 guide, you'll understand my feelings for that game. They're rather strong, and there's a lot of people that love that game. I'm just not one of them. But all Resident Evils kind of went action-packed. 5 did, 6 did, to the degree that it ruined the game, you know. All of them are, and this game is no different. So I think the people expecting there not to be sequences like this were people that don't truly understand just what survival horror means now, because unfortunately they want survival horror of 1996, and we're never going to get that again. The closest we're going to get is the remastering of the remake that's coming out on I don't even know when it's coming out. It's coming out quite soon. But the one redeeming factor about the Call of Duty turret section that you're witnessing right now is that it makes sense at the end, because this is brilliant foreshadowing of the final boss. And for some reason, when I was watching Darkside Phil play this game, I don't think he spotted it, and he kind of looked at it as a Deus Ex Machina, as a jumping the shark moment, when you think about it, it's brilliant. A random APC turns up with a mounted gun, and then later on you are able to use said mounted gun against the last boss. You know, instead of just having, a magical turret appear, they made it a part of the game, for better or worse, and they made it quite interesting, I think. So if you get close to him like I just did then, he's going to come for you. He's going to light some dynamite, so be really careful. Once you've killed him, you want to get on top of the vehicle and inside it. And this bit sucks, because the reticle is probably the worst reticle since Rogue Warrior. It makes it really difficult to see, and it's unnecessary. You need to focus on people with dynamite, people with guns. Focus on them two people and get them dead quickly, and you'll have no issue with this sequence. If you don't, you'll die a lot. And the reason I know this is I did this one attempt, and I did it with ease on my recording run for this. I have since gone back to this sequence and taken damage here from people I really don't understand how they damaged me on easier difficulties. So it just goes to show, if you are not on top of the people with the guns and the dynamite, you're going to have a bad time. But look at the reticle. Like, how the fuck are you meant to see anything? It's like staring through a keyhole. It's horrendous. And later on in the game, when you use this turret again, it pulls it back to third person. Why couldn't we have, you know, a third-person one? And I wonder if you press the right analog stick in, if it changes what the camera looks like. But I don't think it does. I just think the camera down at the bottom right there is, you know, use right analog to move your aimer. I don't like the way this works. So, interesting note here, folks. Sometimes, if you stay on the gun, the spawn that happens when you run forward now will trigger, and you can shoot them with the turret without an interruption. Sometimes it won't, and you have to move forward, get the little vignette of Sebastian spinning around, which he's going to do just about now, and then a second spawn appears. I don't know how it works. On my speedrun, I did not have to get off the turret, and I killed this wave without needing to do it. However, you need to make sure that nobody's near the bus or you'll not get the prompt to open the door. So, I run that way. You can just kite them, you don't need to use a flashbolt. I just use flashbolts because I like them. And then use this to kill the rest of them. The melee Haunted can't do much because they have to climb up before they can attack you. So it makes this, you know, the only thing you're fighting at this point is just how bad the point of view is from your perspective, because it's really hard to see thanks to this huge gun, this stupid reticle, and all the crazy vibration and blur that's happening when it fires. But once it's clear, get off, run to the door, press A, and there's only one sequence left. And it's a sequence with a very poor checkpoint for the achievement and trophy hunters. So, after the next cutscene, you're going to get to drive the bus. There is an achievement for not hitting any zombies here. If you hit a zombie and you retry, you will retry before you take out the guy on the gun. So you have to run from the ambulance all the way back through and do that entire sequence. I think that's bad. You know, I don't understand why this wasn't a checkpoint. It's the end of the level. You know there's an achievement coming that people are going to want to do, and not everyone's going to do it the first time. Why are you intentionally forcing people to play through a sequence which is completely unnecessary is beyond me. But on a bright note, or on the brighter side, it's going to get you really good at the turret section. It's going to help you understand how to avoid its gun. It's going to help you understand the spawns, and it's going to help you understand just how bad the draw distance is on the Xbox 360 version, because the zombies will literally pop in the fucking screen just as your bus gets to them. So look at this bullshit. Just popping in, popping in. Look at that! The dude popped in when we were literally 2 meters from him. The guy behind him populated before he did. Like, ugh. It took me like 4 goes to get that achievement because it's just not very good. And I bet you anything, on PC and on next generation, the draw distance is considerably better and none of those will pop in. And if they do, you know, shame on you, Tango. Shame on you, sir. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that level wasn't too bad, and I will see you in Chapter 13. But you take care now.